What is your concerns? Your just back on gun reforms. What's your major concerns with that? Why did you want to move against it?
Well, firstly, not all the states are agreeing, not just Queensland, the Northern Territory, Tasmania haven't signed up to this. And the reality is, do you honestly believe spending $1 billion by trying to take guns off Australians, that you are actually going to take the guns off the criminals and the terrorists, not the innocent Australians? We don't have a gun problem. And in fact, the gun laws that Chris Minns changed in New South Wales would not have changed the tragedy of Bondi. He's changed the number of ownership of guns to an individual in New South Wales to 4. There were 4 guns used at Bondi. So the reality is this has been nothing more than a political diversion. We have the strongest gun laws in the world here. You just can't go and buy a gun. You actually have to pass a fit and proper person test. You have to wait 28 days. You can't say, I want a 303, a high caliber gun. You have to demonstrate a necessity for it. So what we're trying to understand here is why you're taking away these rights. And that bill also goes into the imports around the accessories. That would even make things like clay pigeon shooting for the Olympics even more difficult for our Olympians. That just don't make sense. And this is where, unfortunately, this has been more about a political diversion than it has been about the practical reality of what we need to solve, which is radical Islam.
When you say we don't have a gun
anti-Semitism
problem,
in this country.
Given they're everywhere, and the gangs will attest to that, they can just make them here. I would have thought we would have had a gun problem, no?
No, I don't think we have a gun problem. In fact, if you look at per capita, our ownership has gone down since Port Arthur. Our population has gone up. Yes, we have more guns, but we have a far greater population in Australia. And if you look at homicide rates and you look at the cause, guns are a smaller portion than other weapons. And so this is a reality, is that it doesn't matter what it is, but you shouldn't have this naivety to think that you can just take it all away and it'll all go away. Those that have enough hate in their heart will find a way, whether it is a gun, whether it is a knife, whether it is a car, or whether it's a bomb. They will find a way to perpetrate that hate. What we did demonstrate from Bondi is that gun laws work. What failed was the process around it. The fact that someone in a family, in a household, was on a terrorist watch list and did not have their gun licence and their guns revoked is a serious question that needs to be looked at by our law enforcement agencies. If I have a domestic violence order against me in this country, quite rightfully, my gun and my licence is revoked. And that is where the licensing provisions work. We made great inroads in taking away semi-automatics, but to go further is an impingement on rights that will not change the outcome and would not have changed the outcome of Bondi. And this is what has been nothing more than a cheap political diversion to impinge on the rights of honest Australians who use guns in a lawful way and do a lot of good work for our environment in getting rid of pests across the landscape.
Right. Just a final one here, David, and separate to all of this, you, the Coalition, have been leapfrogged by One Nation on the latest news poll out this morning. How alarmed are you about that?
Oh, there's always lessons in polls, and I think it demonstrates the Australian people are angry with the direction of the country, and they're looking for a direction, and it's important that we're able to articulate that. And I think there are polls out today as well that actually are polls apart from the news poll. And I think that demonstrates, even though both Resolve and News Corp are both very highly respected polling companies, I think it demonstrates the anger across the electorate. And that's why there's two vastly different results in those two polls. And I think, but the lessons are there for us to learn and to understand that there is an anger out there that we need to tap into with proper common sense policies.
Are you concerned, just a final one here, that other members of the Nationals might be looking at these numbers that Pauline Hanson is getting and following Barnaby Joyce out the door?
Well, obviously, I don't think the National Party has done anything but lead for the last 3.5 years. We led on the Voice, we led on nuclear. We were prepared to leave the coalition, left until we got nuclear energy, divestiture of supermarkets, telecommunications policy and a regional Australia Future Fund. And we were the ones that led the coalition out of net zero. So in terms of leadership of the National Party, I think our National Party members have led the coalition in a constructive way to bring policy forward, cogent policy that I think actually does resonate. And that's the leadership role our National Party members have played as a party. And that's the way that our party operates, not as individuals, but as a party.
And that's the Nationals leader, David Littleproud. Thank you so much, David, as always.